All right, welcome everyone to the July Agile at Scale meetup. So we'll go through some quick introduction slides and then we'll hand it pretty quickly over to Wolfram so he can start his topic. But first, we want to start with our mission of connecting people through professional growth and collaborative events, trying to uncover better ways to deliver values through the Agile values, principles, and practices. We are a 501c6 nonprofit organization, so just to let you know that. The Agile Austin Board of Directors, these are the new Board of Directors. They recently took over. I think might be the first SIG meeting we're having with the new group, with the new president and vice president. I think everyone, let's see, Sid, Lanny, and I believe Alexandra are new, and when Ben and Jenny are repeats. So, and Ben is my co-host here, so he's also on the board. So good. We do want to thank our sponsors, our platinum sponsors, our gold sponsors, and silver sponsors. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do things like that. They pay for our Zoom. Back in the old days, they paid for our pizza when we met in person. But need to figure
Long
out that,
ago.
global, we have a lot more global audience now than we had before. And so have to figure out but we definitely thank our sponsors, Agile Velocity, Path to Agility, Resume, Ad Melia Coaching, all of our sponsors. And we also want to, thanks for the support. Agile Velocity, as you just saw, they're their own. They're one of our platinum sponsors. They also offer discounts on any of their public workshops. So if you're interested, scan the code, and and you can take some of their public workshops at a discount. Again, I mentioned the sponsorship. Without them, this isn't possible. So any interest in being a sponsor, please reach out. Contact at agileaustin.org is the best place to start. The membership is hasn't changed price. I don't think ever. I think it started at $35 and it has still remained that. It's one of the few that inflation hasn't hit yet. So it's a great way to connect with other members. Again, used to it was just the local. Now we're a lot more global, as today's speaker coming to us from Germany shows. I think you're my third German speaker, by the way, coming to us. So it's we've had a couple before, but being a member gives you that ability to vote, sit on the board, any special events. It also gives you access to our Slack channel, so where you get a community. It's not real active, but you can go out and post things and get pretty quick replies on it. It's just, but it is a good channel, good resource for others inside of it. We do have a bunch of, we have different activities happening every month. Some of these happen a couple of times a month, some of them just once a month. So you can see the Agile Coaching, Agile at Scale, which is this one, the Book Club, Product AI, the leaders, and then the Lean Kanban ones in there. So a lot of them are Fridays because they're carryovers from when we did it in person. So you'll see, last Friday, this one's the third Friday. The Leader SIG is the first Friday. The book club is one of the ones more in the evenings. It's usually the first and third Thursdays most months, so they do meet a couple of times. And so a lot of different ways to engage with the Agile Austin community. A lot of different topics out there as well. So like I said, we're typically the third Friday every month. Sometimes we move it if the speaker has a conflict, but we try to stay with that pattern. Just it seems to work best for at least Ben and I. So running it. I've been hosting this one since 2016. Ben joined me as a co-host, co-lead in 2020. So we're definitely here. We love to have these conversations. We're open to any conversations. We've had a lot of different topics through the years. This is actually one of those things that I really look forward to each month, is getting in here, hearing different points of view, whether they're experienced or even beginners. I like to hear them all, and so I think everyone has a story. So we look forward to those stories. And speaking of stories, we're playing with the schedule just a little bit. so everyone said, yes, I'll speak, and we're trying to juggle. Aresh was originally our August one, but he just got a new job, so he asked, could he move it to September? And so Jason and Veronica, they've also said the same thing. They needed to move theirs out. So we're kind of juggling, but we do have speakers sort of lined up, but we're always looking for more speakers. So if you're interested or you know someone that would be a good speaker, please reach out to me. Let me know. I'm always looking to bring in different points of view. Aresh will be a first-time speaker. So he's never spoken, he's never presented in something. So looking forward to, like I said, even the beginners have stuff that we can learn from. So he's not a beginner in the Agile field, just a first-time speaker. So that's looking forward to that. Jason, of course, has been around for a long time. In case if you know him, he's written books on lean change management. So I'm expecting lean change management topics from him. And then Veronica, she's also been around. In fact, I've known Veronica. I think she was in my when I got my SPC, my safe licensing. She was in my class back in 2014. So no, she's been around. She speaks a lot as well. So looking forward to their topics. Just their schedules have been a little crazy to get them locked down. So we're kind of working on that right now. But with Aresh needing to move out a month, we're looking for someone in August, so stay tuned. We'll see what we can find to get someone for August speaking. But that's our schedule. But today, our speaker is Wolfram. Wolfram's coming to us from Germany. So and with our topic about Scrum teams and theory of constraints. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to him and let him introduce himself and a little more about the topic, and I will let him start sharing as well. So I will stop sharing so he can start sharing.
And I just take over, and before I introduce myself, on the presentation on the top, you will see something. It's called menti.com and a interesting number. So I don't like presentations at all. So I'm more this interactive whatever guy. So please open another browser. Just enter menti.com and enter the number, and then you should see the same. And not every slide, but a few of them will need interaction, so you can give your input, and then I have to deal with what was voting and have to explain something I never knew before. So just for your information, enter menti.com and the number, and you're in. To myself, I don't know what to talk about me. I'm an engineer, and I started in medical device technology. There I learned how project management will never work. It was quite interesting. And then I started in 2000 in a small company. Even in US, it's known oneandone.com. It's a competitor to GoDaddy, so internet stuff, hosting and stuff like this. And I just wanted to do programming, and suddenly they came up with the idea that if you do project management, everything changes and everything goes well. And it was 25 years ago, or something like that. And I was the slowest to run, and I was the only one in the company who was able to spell project without problem. So they made me the head of project management office, and then they gave me all the shit to deliver. So we had a central project office, and I was responsible for over 530 projects. So at some point in time, I had 40 project managers behind. But the interesting part, we did all the funny stuff, in the internet, from voice over IP, digital subscriber lines, video on demand, hosting, mails, whatever you can think of, we did it. So, and you can imagine a little, that was quite some fun. And we started with Agile, I think 2002, I did my Scrum Master, or 2003 or something like that. So when we tried this, and the classic project management failed, by the way, and the Agile failed, by the way, and we did a lot of failures. And at some point in time, we found this theory of constraint stuff. And that was crazy, because suddenly we knew what to do. And that was interesting. So the managers were not so needed anymore, and the people knew what they need to do. And that was some quite funny. And then I started to support other companies. And currently we are something around 950 in a community, and we are talking about hyper productivity and stuff like this. So that's me. Still crazy, I hope. And today, I just want to give you a few ideas or glimpses or hints where you can look at if it comes to agility, not in a team. I hope you know how to produce agility in a team. I hope. If not, okay. But we are dealing with companies from 16 to 6,500 employees and developers, and they can be agile as a Scrum team. And I just want to show you a little about how this works. And then you can say I'm mad. So feel free. But now let's go into this 2 things you have to do to get an agile organization. And I'm not talking about theory. If you look at my background, you see a lot of interesting companies who did it. So we helped already 42 companies to really make it happen. So, but now stop talking, Müller. It's not good to talk so much. So now you should see the first slide, and you can forget everything about this meetup from today. But remember one thing, Elijah Goldratt, theory of constraints. So if you see a problem that you can't solve, take one of the books, read it. And by the way, the Phoenix project is also a theory of constraints book. So maybe you already read one. So, and the others are equally funny. So the only thing to remember is TLC, and now you can relax and enjoy the meetup. So every important is done. So, and now I promised you that organizations can switch to agility within hours and days. And the mechanism behind it's called self-organization. And we are not talking about this, okay, put some people in a room and let they do whatever they want or something like that. We are talking about the scientific approach, how complex systems are managed or manage themselves, or no one manages them and they function neither. So in the nature, and the ants are just an example, there are so many complex systems interacting with a lot of subsystems and stuff like this, and they still work without that anyone really can explain it, and that's called self-organization. And if you think about agility of an organization, then you need something like this. No managers, no hierarchy, but simply functioning. And if you know this, then you have to do 2 things, and they are called very scientific. One is called the control parameter, that controls the change and the emergent behavior. And the other is an order parameter. And I just explained it like this. So the control parameter is like dialing the heat on the oven. So you put energy in information or work or material. And if you put in less or more, then the system changes. The water boils or not. That's a control parameter. And the order parameter, that's a little more complex, but more interesting, is, okay, the ants have to communicate somehow together. So, and how is this communication done? How do the ants know what to do? And this must be a signal out of the work, maybe. And I will show you this. And if this signal makes sense to everyone to subordinate, then suddenly, without telling someone, the order changes of the system and you are agile. It can take minutes, hours. Okay? So now you can already start saying, okay, I'm mad. But that's interesting stuff in this. So, and maybe you remember your team, Scrum team, or anything like this. The control parameter is everywhere the same in working system. It's called the work in progress. So that you already know. But we don't do this work in progress stuff on a team level, because the team level does not know about the organization, but you have to do it on the organizational level. two. You can do it on a team, but you have to do it on an organization level. So, and now my first question, and menti.com, the number you already entered. And the question here is, if you have an organization who can, in the optimal way of working, if everything goes well, it can processes 10 initiatives, releases, projects, whatever you think about at the same time. And now my question to you, what is the optimal number of initiatives you plan in this organization? Okay. Yeah. So I see 4 of 13 already did the voting. Oh. Oh, yes. Now it gets so, but what's already visible, no one of you has the idea to overload the organization. So, and that's the first absolutely most important parameter. Never overload. No system in the world, in the human world, in the biology is overloaded. 10 is already a little too much, because if something's happening, then you have a problem, then you are overloaded. So typically 7 to 9, 8, the 80% of lean and stuff like this, that is already perfect. If you go to 1 in parallel, it can be if you can concentrate the resources on this one. So I would not say it's wrong, but it's very hard to achieve. So in a company with 10 possible stuffs to do, something around 7, 8 will be okay. So, and now if we go to a company, we exactly make this transparent. And it's very simple. They just write down all their initiatives, and I don't talk about stories, epics, or whatever. So we talk about releases, projects, or initiatives. And then you simply estimate how much effort in person days or whatever, very roughly, you need from which skill. And then you know how much of the skill you have. And if you divide the hours or days of a skill divided by the capacity of the skill, then you get the length of the queue, right? Very roughly. It's not scientifically proved. And then you get pictures that you really can use to identify the constraint. Oh, there was something I missed. So theory of constraints means there's always just one overloaded team or fully loaded team. And the easiest way to fix all your problems is stop all initiatives that do not go through the constraints, and then ensure that no one works on something else, and then encourage everyone to help each other. That was theory of constraints on a page. So, and now I show you the graphs. And these are 3 companies. After I told you what we did, list all initiatives, releases, estimate the remaining effort per skill divided by the capacity per skill, and then you get numbers, or either percentages or weeks. And on top, you always see the team with the highest load. And if you stop all other projects and initiatives, no one else can more loaded than the most loaded team, right? Very simple. So with this simple thing, you can do it in 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. You can identify the constraints, and then you reduce the number of initiatives until you are at 100%, 80%. This is something in between. And the interesting part are these red triangles. Can you imagine what this is? Thinking a little. So if you have a team with just 24% load, then the red triangle is more or less the overcapacity. So if you really apply theory of constraints and remove all projects that don't go through the constraint, then you will see that a lot of people doing stuff that will never be really valuably delivered. And then you can think about whether some one of these can help the constraint, and suddenly the people start moving around. But you see also the triangle goes not to 100%. So in theory of constraint, no one is ever loaded to 100%. And that is a precondition for self-organization. So if everyone is loaded at 100%, then you can't move. So you have to underload the organization. Then you get the optimal flow. Okay? So, and okay, you don't have to take my words. You can go to this presentation. This is Chris Mads. It's a little older. It's from 2014. And they did exactly this at Skype with thousands of developers. And they found exactly the same triangle here. It's gray. And they found out 30% of their agile capacity worked on stuff that would have never been delivered. And then they had ideas what to do with it. So now I stop with the control parameter. So the control parameter, if you want to have an agile self-organized organization, you have to bring the organization in underload. Not overload the constraint. And if the constraint is not overloaded, everyone else is underloaded. So, and now you can imagine everything gets easy. There are people running around and crying for work. They are searching for work. And now you need this second thing, this signal. They want to do something that makes sense. So they have to know where to go. And what we do is a very simple thing. It's already built in our brains. So we don't teach people something. We just take stuff that is already there. And every one of you knows the red light and the green light and the buffer consumption versus progress signal. So if you have a flight going at some point in time and it's an important flight, you know you have to go 2 hours per car, and then you plan in half an hour buffer for doing all the stuff and if something's happening. And if you start and the engine does not start, you know, oh, my progress is 0, but the buffer consumption is already 30%. And then you're a little nervous. So you really start hiring a taxi and speeding up the stuff. If you are shortly before the airport and you have a little traffic jam, you know you are 99% of the route is already done, no panic. And if you think a little, you do the same with your fridge or the beer at a party. You have this red and green progress buffer consumption. Everyone uses it all the time. And we use this also for agile initiatives, but also for classical projects. And if you are in Agile, then you have a release backlog, for example. So these gray bars are the remaining whatever in a release backlog. And of course, every week you have a burn down. And this green stuff, that's an enhanced burn down chart. That's the stuff that came on top, new, and where the curves are crossing, that's your current estimated time to completion. And if you start, then you don't have any surprises. You have an initial velocity. So you have something like 30% buffer for the due date you promised. And then every week you can see your progress and your buffer consumption. And we put it in a diagram like this. So very simple. On the x-axis, you see the progress or the burn down. On the y-axis, you see the buffer consumption, and it goes always like this. You start on the left corner, 0, 0. And if you are at 100% progress, burn down, and all the buffer is gone, by the way, fine. So the buffer is for being consumed. That allows agility, that allows feedback rounds and all the stuff. And I can promise you it always goes like this. So in the beginning, everything is green, and then you ask the first customer about the stuff, and then you are in red, and then you have to talk with the customer and find solutions for this. But this is a way we are looking at releases in Agile. And by the way, you can do the same on projects. That is called critical chain. And I see already one of the participants here. So, and there are also possibilities. So Vlad is already giving signs. So you can do this on top of Jira as you want. Very simple. So you got it. So x-axis burn down, y-axis buffer consumption. You calculate it like this on the left side, or you can use a tool or an Excel or whatever. So now you know everything. So underloading, and then this funny diagrams here. And just a few examples. On the top in the middle, you see the new app from Janus Fries via Swiss, co-founder of Skype. They used this, and this is a perfect curve. You see, they have progress, and sometimes they consume buffer, then they gain buffer and stuff like this. But there are also curves like on the right top, where it goes backward and forward and overconsumption. But anyway, you always see whether the project is in red, yellow, green, whether the direction is right and stuff like this. And this is a signal that has every team every day. And it really immediately starts that the team is thinking and talking about this. And you can use it for the product ownership to deal with the stakeholders. And now you have to pay attention again. Mentimeter is coming. So now this is a fever curve of a distributed agile project. I think 1,000 stories, 4 or 5 teams around the world. So, and now you already learned about these fever curves. What do you think? Is this fever curve a disaster? Or it's okay? Or is it perfect? Ah. Don't think so much. Thinking is always consuming energy. So just vote. Be spontaneous. Oh, interesting. So we are not very clear whether it's a disaster or okay. Perfect. It's not perfect, by the way. That is clear. It's not perfect. Why it's not perfect? Because it started not at 0, 0. You already see the problem. So they promised a due date, they did all the negotiation, and then, and I was not aware of this, the next day they started with a fever curve. They started at 40%. And then I asked, hey guys, what did you do? There's something wrong. And then they said, oh, we talked with the customer. He wanted this features and this feature and that feature. So we already pulled in some more stories. And then I said, okay, cool, you can do this, but this will get funny. So, and then they started, and you see the slope of the curve is too steep. They consumed more buffer, less progress. And then I said, after 2 weeks, hey guys, what are you doing here? And then they descoped already a few of the features that they pulled in, but then it was going up very fast. And after this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 week, I said, guys, you can stop the project. This will never be delivered. So something's wrong in the way you are working together. And then we really did a full stop, this pull the line principle. So we pulled the line and they sat together, and then they found out that the teams were not collaborating, the knowledge were not exchanged, and they do not work together. It was silos in the teams and stuff like this. And then they decided how to work better together. And you see, oh, it worked. And then at 60%, they realized, no, we have to descope all the rest, what we started in the beginning. So they descoped. And then it was a little tough, a tough ride, but they delivered all the scope to the due date. And you can believe the trust level and the fun. It's per week $1 million they earned with this product. So, but you see a little, it was not perfect. I would say it was a disaster. Some would say it was okay, because in the end, they delivered. So, next question to you, and another agile release. Huh? So, and now you are team lead, scrum master, agile coach. Really, I ask you, now you have to type. Huh? It's a software, of course, something. Do you have ideas? Huh? What you can do? Ah, okay. Yeah, that are the easy things. Reduce scope. That's what else? What else? These are the easy solutions. Huh? Yeah, that's giving more time, so the buffer is bigger, and then it goes back to yellow. Huh? So negotiating with the stakeholder, focus, introducing WIP limits. Okay, now it's getting, yeah, now. So it's like in a brainstorming. Huh? After a few minutes, the better ideas are coming. Huh? So introducing WIP limits, that could be very powerful. Very often we see that the teams were still working on too much at the same time. So you can really reduce working on 1 or 2 stories and then the flow. Retrospective, very important. This is a moment where you really, and you don't have a Mickey Mouse retrospective, but you can say, hey, look, we are in the red and the slope does not fit. So what's the root cause? So we are talking about real problems. Ask what they can improve. Very often, if you give them 2 or 3 days, they really come up with real good technical solutions. So very often in this crisis, they have very good ideas. And then, of course, sometimes reduce a bit in different ways. So I don't want to say that the solutions are always easy and the same, but very important, this is the moment where you really can pull the line, do a retrospective or whatever you call it, and let the team find ways to work better, work more focused, find a better technical solution, and you will be extremely astonished how good this works. And in the normal procedure of working, you don't have time to think about such improvements. So you don't have to start the project again until you do not have the solution. So really, it's a crisis, and you really can use this crisis to get it done. This project went never to green again, huh? So it finished somehow, and a little descoping or whatever, but in the end, it was okay. So, but now, and that is the last thing I will show you, one voting. So now I promised you that it's not about a team, it's about a whole organization. And this is an organization with somehow 400 developers. Huh? And the dots are the endpoints of all releases and projects. Huh? So you just see the endpoint. Huh? So you have the overview about all initiatives, all releases in one view. You understand? Green means you have more buffer than progress. Yellow means everything is in balance. Red means, okay, we have a little problem. We are more buffer consumed. So, and now the last question, and that is self-organization, that is agility. And in our world, we give a shit on the teams. So no, we don't give a shit on the teams. Teams are very, very important to have a home base, to have people to talk with. But if some other team in the company is in red, it is allowed to help each other. And now you have one person free. Huh? So in your team, one person is free, or you are the one person that is free. And now you have to decide what to do. Huh? So if you choose the first option, then you help the red project because you are free. Huh? The B option is, okay, my friend is working in the B project and he helped me once, so I help him. Huh? And C is, okay, this is also maybe a friend, but we want to go on vacation. And if I help him, then we are earlier than expected, and then we can go to vacation. And the D option is, I don't tell anyone that I am free. I hide my capacity and no one complains. So what do you think? Would you, as a team lead, Scrum Master, or product owner, or Agile coach, do if you have one of your team members free, or if you are the team member that is free? So please vote. So no one hides his capacity. And you won't believe it's really like this. So if you underload the organization, if you have this scatter plot, the people really ask for who can I help. So they want to do something. Hiding capacity is not an option. Giving it to a green project, okay, that makes no sense. Then the green project will get greener. Giving it to the yellow may sometimes make sense if it's a very important project, for example, to avoid. But the ground rule is, if you are free, go to the red project and ask whether you can support. And we have companies with 6,500 developers and 4,500 developers, and you can't imagine this happens. And I know from Joe Justice, former Tesla, SpaceX, Agile, they do it every day in the morning. Everyone can decide in which Agile team he wants to go. And that's okay. And the people are reasonable and they do it like this. People, if they are not overloaded, if they want to do something that makes sense, they want to help each other. We are herding animals. So if you underload the organization, and if you have this signal, you will get within days and fluid, focused on delivery organization, fully agile, because you have buffers, you can talk with the customer, all the good agile stuff you can do, but you do it as one company. And you don't have to believe me. This is theory of constraint. It's more or less the afterburner for agile and scaling. So it's always one constraint. And then you can underload the constraint, and then everyone is underloaded. Then you take this stupid, simple signal that's good for the team. They know what to do, but you show it to everyone, and everyone really moves and helps. And if you then also have a product that makes sense, you will see this go off the roof. The sky is not the limit. And you don't have to believe me. So we did it 42 times. And the numbers behind the X are the throughput increases, and throughput, output, outcome. Take it as the same. And we see factors 3, 4, 5, even in huge organizations, because it's nothing better than to help the red project and the constraint. And then you really get power. And by the way, the people feel much better because everyone helps each other, and we like this as people. So that was it from my side. Just a small hint as a last slide. Yes, we are also a community around this. We have 960 members in 4 months gained, all talking about this theory of constraint stuff and self-organization stuff. We have a lot of stuff. And if you want, just join. So that was it from my side. I hope I was able to give you a little the fascination of this. So it's not about more roles and ceremonies and stuff like this. All fine with it. It's really about activating that people work together. And they love it, by the way, they love it. So I drink something, so cheers. I've never made a meetup or something like that. So I believe that it's usually done like this, that you ask questions or something like that, right? So I'm not so good in moderating, huh? But you can simply unmute yourself and ask your question, and then we are in the discussion. That is the way I know how it works. Self-organized.
Yeah.
Yes. I would go first. No, someone else.
Okay, I'll go second. I'll go second.
Okay, this raising the hand is a very cool feature. I like it. So, by the way,
Alena is speaking. I have a question regarding buffer size.
Yeah.
What would be your suggestion how to compute buffer size?
Yeah, there are many different ways, and none is right because it's all estimations. Huh? So I often tell it like this. First of all, the buffer size must be more or less equally for all projects, huh? Or initiatives or releases, because if you take a smaller size, then you're getting faster to red and you get all the resources you want. So the first idea anyone has is reduce the buffer to get red to get all you need. So you have to stick more or less equally in percentage. Huh? And if you just have 5% buffer, it's not agile anymore. Then you're just running the whole time and fighting. It can make sense if you have a drop dead project or something like that. Then it makes sense to do it like this, but it makes no sense. So and if you have 50%, then everyone slows down because student syndrome. And so we typically say something between 20 and 30%. That's okay normally. But we have sometimes legacy projects, so where you have to remove a legacy system. That I would say you need more buffer. Because you have no idea what it means. And very often you do it like this. You start with a buffer and then halfway through you check whether it makes sense. So okay, a lot answers. It's not, there's no percentage. Typically so, between 20 and 30.
And this like based on historical data, something like empirically figuring out.
Yes. Very often you start with historical data. You have a velocity from the past or something like that. You don't do we don't do story point stuff like this. We really typically think, okay, this is a 5-day, this is a 10-day, this is. But just take care that the biggest are not too big, and then you even count. Some companies just count the stories and say, okay, we have 1,000 stories to finish. We can deliver 10 stories. Okay, this does not work. so roughly like this. So very, very rough.
Thank you.
So okay, so Max, you have to unmute. That's a very, very simple trick. It helps for communication.
Let's try this again. So thank you for the presentation. Very informative. Hey, like Wolfram. One thing that I'd like to ask about is around delivering customer value. We have so many data points and charts about productivity and works and trends. And in my 20 plus years of career of like, whether it be agile coaching, manager of PMO, portfolio, everything, I've always tried to ask, how can we get more visibility and data points to customer value?
Customer value. This is the only important. It's
the most important thing, I think. But people get stuck on burn down charts and this and that. But
yeah, fine.
What have you done in the past, maybe that has helped that, right, to raise the visibility of customer value being delivered?
These are more meetups and stuff like this. But the main idea is talk about the constraint in the organization. So if you have a constraint in the organization, the architect teams or business analysts or something like that, then you have to talk, you have to decide which project initiatives or releases you have to take. Huh? So, and in that moment, you talk about the expected value divided by the effort in the constraint. Huh? So if you have one initiative that brings you the churn rate down from 20 to 15%, then you can say, okay, this is the value $2 million or something like that, and we need 100 days in the constraint. Ooh, huh? That's tough. And if a team says, okay, we have here a cool feature, implementing AI for forecasting the deepest wishes of our customer, and we just have to plug in OpenAI, and it just takes 2 days, and we get 5 million, then it's clear. So we talk while starting an initiative, not stories and epics, initiatives. We really talk about the value and the consumption of the constraint. And Max, the coolest question is, and that's the full burner, does the value just starts to be value if it solves the constraint of the customer? That's the trick. Huh? So I don't care about my constraint, my velocity, my whatever. Don't care about this.
No,
the customer is just willing to pay if you address his constraint. So my time for me is the constraint. And if someone gives me a tool where I can save 2 hours a day just by installing the tool, I say, no brainer. Huh? 2 hours more with my family, I buy. And if you look at the Apple stuff and stuff, it's always about making the precious time of the customer more used. So and then the customers are willing. And even more cool is if you find a product or a feature that helps to get more out of the customer, of the constraint of the customer's customer. Huh?
Yes.
But you already see it's not internally focused. It's really, what is the constraint of my customer? This question changes everything.
Yes. And if I will, I mean, that's spot on. And another, not that we have to talk about it, but another challenge I face a lot of times is that you have to find effective ways of measuring that constraint of the customer going away and reintroducing that feedback into your system. Because wonderful. I feel a lot of times we get a project done, as I've always worked in large enterprises. We get a project done, great. Everybody sends emails, great job, and we move on to something else. And there's never that feedback loop that could take months.
Absolutely. And it's I'm a big fan of data-driven companies. So measure, not yourself. Don't care about yourself. Measure what the customer is doing, how much time he spends, how often he uses which feature, and then understand, oh, why does he use it like this? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, and then ask the customer, of course, why, and really absolutely focusing on the finding out with data backup, and not internally. Don't care about this so much. So fever curve, that's enough. Don't overload fever curve. No more internal stuff necessary, and all the rest is, what is a constraint? What does he get out of this? Fits, huh?
Thank you.
And that's the theory of constraint. That's theory of constraint. It's looking outside to the customer, and it helps a lot. So I did not see who raised the hand, but I have seen one hand raising.
Yeah, and it's not really necessarily a question per se, but I know you used the example of like, if we had extra free hands or a developer, like moving into other projects to help bring down that constraints for those other projects and bring down that fever buffer and that buffer consumption. But it's not necessarily moving more bodies to a project. So I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts on like, what are other avenues or things. And I know somebody mentioned like retrospectives and in talking with the team on what that is, but I think we know that more bodies doesn't necessarily mean like it'll necessarily help either all the time.
Yes. We managers and people are very often afraid of doing this, this moving people around, and it's of course because our tribe and we love to hug each other and stuff like this, but it's really worth to do it. So, and even if it's hard, and even if it slows down the constraint in the first days, and even if so don't care about costs, don't care about the ramp up time, don't care about, and people love to learn and stuff like this. So and you don't have to move 80% of the people around. That makes it's mathematically not necessary. So we had running simulations. Very often you need just 5 or 10 people in another team. Even in companies with 1,000 developers, you need to move for 5 people, because if the constraint is just 5 people and you add 5 people, then you double already the throughput of the whole system, and all the 80% others suddenly have worked. So it's very few, and every invest is okay. And what you said is also okay. If we find a constraint, we don't move people first. That's not the first thing. The first thing is, hey guys, what are you doing? Is there anything we can unload? Can we shut down email, phone? Can we bring you pizza? At 1&1, we even had a massage service. So after 2 hours, someone came nearby and helped to relax and we really took them out after 2 hours to have a drink and make some exercises. Not a year long, but when it was critical. So do everything you can imagine, and they got the best computers, of course, and everyone suddenly wanted to work in the constraint because they had the massage service and the best computers and the even a buying service we had for them. So they just had to say, okay, this evening I need a dinner for my wife, and then someone else organized the dinner for the wife. Can you imagine how many people suddenly want to work for the constraint? Very funny, very funny. So do everything, and it's really interesting what happens in an organization. Don't overuse this, by the way, because in the end you don't want the constraint internally. You just want to have the constraint in marketing and sales.
Oh, thank you.
Hey folks, sorry to join late. I'm taking over for Leland and Max in terms of facilitation. So thanks, Max, for stepping in for a few minutes. So yeah, anybody else have any questions for Wolfram? If not, Wolfram, anything else you wanted to mention? I see you've got some stuff about where to find you on the slide. So anything else?
Maybe this, and I started already like this. We've done it 40 times with organizations, helping them, and it's very funny, and it's not so hard to get the C-levels and stuff on board, because these numbers are very convincing. So, but can you imagine to work in an organization that is really an underload, and when you see every day what is red and green, and you are allowed to help each other? Just feel into yourself. How would that feel? And then if you find this interesting, you know where to find me.
Excellent. Sounds good. So yeah, we should have this up on our YouTube channel here by next week, and we'll update the meetup page with that link. So you should get a notification of that, as well as folks that couldn't make it today that had signed up. And yeah, I think that's about all we have at this point. We've got other events, of course, on our meetup page. So check that out for more upcoming events. And yeah, I think we're in good shape. So want everybody to have a good weekend, and hope to see you all, if we don't have an event in August, in September for our next Leader Sig. So take care, everyone.
Thank you for your time, and have a funny next week and stuff around that.
All right. Thank you, Wolfram.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
See you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you, Wolfram.
Bye.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.